Philip Crowther, international affiliate reporter for the Associated Press, joins me now with a look at last night and a preview of tonight. Philip, welcome back. Good to see you. So Republicans wasted no time in getting right to it, making some dire predictions of what will happen if Democrats are elected to the White House.
Yeah, it certainly was a dark vision that we saw from Republicans of a potential Joe Biden presidency. And what we also saw was a division we already knew about, of course, between Republicans and Democrats, but different worldviews entirely. You could even say that they're living in different worlds right now. I'll give you one example. Their views of how the coronavirus pandemic is being fought right now in the United States. There were many speakers at the Republican convention who spoke of the president's heroic attempts to stop that outbreak, whereas Democrats, of course, last week saw the president as largely being to blame for that ever-increasing number of deaths in the United States. But you're right to say that those warnings of a Joe Biden presidency were everywhere, warnings of violence in American cities spreading to the suburbs, warnings of open borders, of voter fraud, etc., all sorts of things that only to a certain degree, of course, are true, but the picture that was painted was a very negative one indeed. So who can stand in the way of that negativity? Well, maybe somebody like the president, at least according to some of the speakers on stage in Washington, the likes of the young conservative activist Charlie Kirk, saying that the president was the bodyguard of Western civilization. That is the kind of bombastic language, of course, we are used to from conventions from both political parties.
Well, one of the speakers last night was former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. She had some strong words of support for President Trump and also some harsh criticism for people who say America is racist. How did she use her own personal experiences, Philip, to make her point?
Yeah, her story is an interesting one and maybe a vital one right now. She said she was the proud daughter of Indian immigrants, a brown person in a black and white world, said Nikki Haley, the former UN ambassador. She is essentially trying to prove at this point that you can be somebody in the Republican Party who wholeheartedly supports the president, but still, in a sense, be a member of the Republican Party from before Donald Trump, and maybe even be a very important member of the Republican Party post Donald Trump. Don't forget that she might very well have ambitions for the presidency in 2024. Now, speaking of race, she did say that she had been the victim of discrimination, but did try to ram home this message that the United States is still a welcoming country to immigrants.
Senator Tim Scott also spoke last night. He's the only black Republican in the Senate, and he was one of a number of African-American speakers last night who talked about opportunity and the possibilities for the country if President Trump is reelected. How are his comments being received?
Oh, they went down very well on from members of both political parties. His speech was a particularly strong one. It was the very last one. It was the primetime keynote address, if you will. Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, like Nikki Haley, of course, from the same state, might have some higher political ambitions of his own, it must be stated as well. But he is in a particularly interesting position, of course, right now, being, as you said, the only black Republican member of the U.S. Senate, and somebody who works with the president on police reform, on policing, for example, on criminal justice reform. He is also somebody, because of that role he plays in the U.S. Senate, that he can criticize the likes of the Democratic nominee Joe Biden on the issue of race. For example, when Joe Biden did say, and I'm paraphrasing, that if you support the president, you can't really be black. That is something that the senator brought up yesterday specifically. He is somebody who can do that. And he is also somebody, along with Nikki Haley, who is supposed to show that diversity is still possible within a Trump administration and within possibly another 4 years of a Trump administration. Of course, a lack of diversity has been a criticism of this administration for a long time now.
Now, Philip, less than 30 seconds left. Quickly, what can we expect tonight?
Well, it's going to be a family affair, this one tonight. We're going to hear not from one, but 4 Trumps. From the president, we've been told more than once there'll be an appearance. The main speech, of course, is from Melania Trump from the Rose Garden, but there'll also be speeches from Eric and Tiffany Trump. I should also mention a controversial speak from the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. It is very unusual for the top diplomat to give a political speech, but he will have recorded a message in Jerusalem, of all places, that will be played during this second night of the Republican convention.
Well, Philip Crowther, international affiliate reporter for the Associated Press, thank you so much.